How would you summarize this conversation that we just had?
I love the questions that you brought. I wasn't sure what you were going to ask, but they were all so well thought out, and a great lead in. And I really appreciate that, Christian. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate you too. And so you'd advise people to listen to the full entire interview, yes?
Yes, listen to the full interview. It was it was good.
Welcome back to VisionCast Network, where intention, collaboration, and technology gather in service to humanity. Today's special guest is Maggie Tamez, and she has a wonderful mission. She helps diabetic women make healthier food choices through meal planning. So welcome, Maggie. Great to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Christian. I'm really glad to be here.
My pleasure. Been looking forward to this. So, give us your backstory, please. Tell us how you got into this line of work and what you've learned so far.
Well, honestly, it started for me in 2015, when I was diagnosed with diabetes myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I went back and forth trying to change and adapt. And as a chef, I knew what healthy food was, but I really had issues with like the temptation parts of it. And then I had a public collapse a couple of years later after developing neuropathy and a couple of other things. And at that point, I realized that I really had to change. I didn't have an option. And so I started looking for what that looked like for me.
Okay.
And in the last 5 years, I have been able to control my blood sugar without medication. I have like set myself up with a lifestyle that allows me to control my symptoms, my blood sugar without like feeling like I'm stuck in a bland and a boring diet. Because as a chef and a foodie, like I could never like bring myself to that. And then after I got that, like I really started looking around it because what I was doing before, which was a lot of, I was a cake decorator and a chocolatier, and that no longer aligned with my lifestyle. And so I had to find something
Mm.
different. And when I was looking for something different, I was like, why don't I help people do the things that I went through? And so I decided to go into health coaching, help people
Mm.
make healthy eating more delicious and be able to adapt it to what they're used to eating flavor-wise, but with much better options.
Beautiful. Before we dig back down deeper into that, so it sounds like you have a chef's background, and that was a very specific lifestyle, right? Very specific lifestyle. And now you've taken what you've learned through a collapse and you change your lifestyle completely, or to a significant extent, I'm assuming, yes?
To a significant extent, yes.
Yeah. And so if this resonates with you folks, like, share, and subscribe, and pass this interview on to other people that might benefit from this information. So tell us how that pivotal turning point, Maggie, really affected your life. What changed? What was different? And what have you learned from it?
Oh, there's a whole roller coaster of change
Mm,
that happened in there. Um, because when it first happened, like it really was a devastating effect. And it took me a couple of years to like come to terms with it, accept it, and be able to start making positive changes in my life. But if I'm very honest with myself and everyone around me, since I started making those changes and taking ownership of my own health, like my life has become so much better. I have so much more energy. I have a much more positive outlook on life. It's been a complete change.
mm.
And even though I have a completely different life than what I was living before, I appreciate it so much more, and I'm much happier most of the time than I was when I was doing all of the things that I thought I really loved. So,
Wow. So that must have been a kind of a contrast to get used to, yes?
It was. It was a big contrast. It was a difficult start, but
Mm,
it was a journey worth going on. And I'm not done yet. Like I'm
right.
still making transformation. I'm still making improvements and changes. And if you start on a journey where you start to make changes, like, and halfway through, life is already so much better. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see when I get closer to what are my ultimate goals are, what life is going to be like, honestly.
Fascinating. So you made some changes. They were positive changes. They were difficult, yes?
Yes.
And so you took ownership. I heard you say you really took ownership in a way that was definitive. So do you have a couple of tips for people that are in that similar maybe point in their journey of wanting to make
Yeah.
positive changes and taking greater ownership?
So if you're unhappy with where you are right now, where you're sitting at, really being willing to take a realistic look in the mirror and what are the things that you're doing, what are the habits and the actions that are keeping you there. And as scary as it is, like really making changes, trying
Mhm.
things and taking actions to do different things is what helped me the most. And when I say
Mm,
that, I mean like when I was at my worst health-wise, going out for a walk that was less than a quarter mile was actually a challenge for me.
mm,
But I was still going out and I was still doing it. And I felt like it was less than a quarter mile. It couldn't mean anything. But that was where I started. And because I decided it was going to mean something and I kept doing it, it led to bigger changes. And now, like, the growth happens exponentially and starting. Really,
wow.
that's my big tip.
Beautiful. So fear not, move forward.
Fear not. All good things are on the other side.
All good things are on the other side of something we fear.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Wow. So, tell us more, please, about how you serve your clients and your approach. And I'm noticing your Running Fox Living Food logo. Love that. Love those colors. So how are you serving your clients? And then I want, I want to learn more about your logo because that's a great logo.
Thank you. I look forward to that. So when I'm serving my clients, I have a seven-step program
Yep.
called running. And it's really starting with recognizing, like I was talking about, being realistic with where you are, taking ownership of those things. And we go through step by step and identify a lot of the habits that can hold us back, but then we go through practical exercises about how we can make changes to
Mhm.
those. And on the practical side of things, I actually help people learn how to meal plan. I
Okay.
create a example meal plan that has healthy foods, um, and using the same like flavors that they're used to as part of their culture and as part of their
Okay.
life, but with much better ingredients. So they get a full recipe book with a shopping list and a pantry list so that they know what to keep in stock. Um, and then we go through 8 weeks of really including these in step-by-step processes so that at the end of it, they know how to create their own meal plans that are healthy, delicious, and support their ultimate health goals.
Wow. I think I could use that. I mean, I'm very healthy, but the thought of knowing what it is that I'm going to eat and knowing what it is that I need to shop for and what to put aside would be like really helpful.
It's a huge time saver for a lot of
Yeah.
people, and having that convenience makes it easier to shift from the prepackaged,
Yep.
less healthy convenience foods into a healthy lifestyle.
Lovely. So you're providing structure based on experience, based on your years as a chef and your understanding of the different tastes of food, as well as I heard in there are cultural components to this as well. So this is a complex puzzle that you're putting together.
It is, but it's one of my favorite puzzles. I enjoy puzzles, and there's something about food as a language, a way to communicate, and um like our emotional homes a lot of time are
Yep.
tied back into foods. And so
Yep.
making sure that you're not losing those connections while you are making changes and improving your health, it's really important for so many people.
Love that. So it's not only better food choices through meal planning, it's also better food choices through meal planning that connects us with things that we value.
It is because most people, I feel like, fail in their quest for better health because they feel like they have to abandon integral parts of what makes
Mm.
them them, which a lot of times is tied to our cultural heritage. But
Yep.
learning how to embrace that in a better way is really a key factor in a lot of people's success.
Fascinating. I remember when I was a kid, we used to every Friday night we'd celebrate by going swimming at the YWCA when I was a kid. And we'd always go out for a meal after that. And I really looked forward to it.
It it is, and it's these habits and traditions that set us up, and
Yeah.
realizing how to build those same habits, those same traditions, um, that allow us not only to improve our health, but really pass health down to other people
Mm.
in our family. It can
Wow.
be life-changing on multiple generations.
So it's like leadership by example.
It is. And like as any good leader, like you have to be willing to take the first hard steps,
Yep.
and that's important.
So that's food for thought right there. See how I did that food for thought?
I like that.
Tell us about the running fox that's over your left shoulder in the living room.
Sure.
Tell us about your
Um,
logo, if you will. Love that logo.
Thank you. First off, I love foxes. I have loved foxes since my college days, honestly. And the more I learn about foxes, their adaptability, their cleverness,
Mhm.
really their social structures, I've really come to admire them. And so the fox has always been kind of a symbol for me
Mm.
in how to survive. They are one of very few animals on this planet who live in as many locations, different biological systems as humans do.
Okay.
Um, and one of the few mammals that can actually live with and survive with humans. Um, and it's really amazing. So that adaptability, that ability to thrive in any location when I was looking at doing a coaching business really stood out.
Mm.
So the Fox part, I I love as well because I have adapted it as part of my program because it stands for fresh organic experiences.
Mm.
Um, and that's really the three pillars that my program is built on: fresh, whole foods, organically grown, locally sourced, and then having a mindful experience when we are enjoying food and it not just to be an afterthought. Um,
Yeah.
and when I was putting it together, I wanted to put like a little heart in
Yeah, I
it.
was noticing that there's a heart
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh, that's cute." And
in the
then, that so the living food is going back into the fresh and organic. And then my last little bit is that we are all made of the same things. We
yeah.
are bits of stardust and sunshine because all stars are is little bits of sun. And so That is my reminder that we are all, no matter where we come from, what culture we were raised by,
Yeah.
we are all rays of sunshine together. We are made of the same things,
Yeah.
and we all deserve the same ability to thrive.
100%. And that reminds me of a closing line, and I think it was a Deepak Chopra book. I don't recall what it is, but I'll let you know later, where he talks about, we're stardust and we're here for just a brief period of time.
Yeah.
And if we're here with kindness, then it's made life worthwhile. Are you familiar with that quote at the end of the book?
Um, I believe I've heard it
Mm,
before. It's not one that I keep in my well store, but
yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and look it up because I really like it.
It's not in your pantry.
It's not in my pantry. I've got to add it.
Got to add it to the pantry.
I
Yeah,
do.
it's in my Audible pantry. So, so I've got two more questions for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, first question is, how can people get a hold of you that want more information?
So I have a website, running-fox.com, and it's got contact information in there. But if you go to Maggie.Tamez, Tamez .18 on Facebook. That's where I spend a lot of my times. I go live, I share recipes, I talk about struggles, and I try to encourage everyone with kindness and love to embrace the things that are not working and be courageous enough to start making changes. So,
Beautiful. So, they can find you on Facebook and they can also find you on your website.
yes.
Any exciting events coming up in the near future in the next couple of few weeks as we head into the new year in 2025?
I have several things that are coming up. Two I would love to be able to talk about because one of them in January, we're going to be starting a generational wealth podcast going beyond the bank, how health is part of our wealth,
Hmm.
really more important than our wealth. And that's going to be a year-long series. I'm going to be collaborating with several other coaches talking about how we can bring generational wealth and that abundance to more generations. And then the other thing I have coming up will be in March, and it is a Women's Journey to Wholeness Summit, where I'm also going to be collaborating with several other coaches, and we're going to be focusing on um, building up a healthy lifestyle. But all of that information will be linked on my website. So if anybody has more questions, they can look for me there.
Beautiful. Love it. And so, final question is, what's the single most important thing you'd like the listeners to leave this discussion with?
The single most important thing is really, it's got to go back to the don't let fear be the thing that stops you. Be willing to set that aside, take action, and invest in yourself because there is no better investment
Mm,
in the world than being a little bit better today than you were yesterday.
love it. That just really wraps us up in a beautiful way. Thank you so much, Maggie, for your time. I really appreciate it. And so, listeners, if you like this episode, subscribe, share it with a friend. Take care, Maggie. Best of luck to you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Christian.
You bet. Bye bye.